Yes, yes, your voice is very much clear and loud. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, children. Thank you so much for joining today. After a long time, we are connecting, and happy to see all the smiling faces. And today, we are going to have a very special program on Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jagat Guru Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So we have a special Prabhuji with us, His Grace Shyam Pyare Prabhu. He is a wonderful devotee, and he has done his after completing his studies, working for some time. He joined Sri Radha Gopinath ISKCON Chowpatty temple in 2008, and thereafter from 2010 he got shifted to Govardhan Eco Village, and there he is serving from last almost a decade. Especially he is serving in as a pujari, and as well as taking care of different guests which are coming in Govardhan Eco Village. We had a connection with Prabhuji probably a year back. I used to know Prabhuji quite well, but in last 1 year we came closer, and he has done a program with us for all the children on journey home as well, with smaller kids, as in like a smaller group. We had somewhere around 10-20 children. We may do that for the rest bigger group as well, that is in pipeline. But today we have Prabhuji talking about Swami Srila Prabhupada. So let's welcome Shyam Pyare Prabhu by loudly chanting at your place, by loudly chanting 3 times, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Thank you so much. Over to you, Shyam Pyare Prabhu.
ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनीति नमिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा। So we are very, very happy and grateful to be a part of this discussion on the glorious life of our founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Special gratitude to His Grace Dayaluram Prabhuji, Radhika Kishori Mataji, and Gopalala Prabhuji, by whose encouragement and facilitation we are here together. And warm welcome to all of you. So we have been asked to give a short biographical sketch, a kind of biographical narrative of our founder Acharya of ISKCON in these 2 sessions, that is today and tomorrow. So the objective and the intention is just to create an inspiration so that we go back and are inspired to delve deeper into the life and activities of our founder Acharya and develop a deeper sense of gratitude towards him. So in today's session, what we are trying to do is we'll try to briefly cover his life activities till the time he met his own spiritual master, that is Om Vishnupada Paramahans Parivedikacharya, His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. So before we begin, I just wanted to ask, I just wanted your opinion on, in fact, this question was floated in the group, so some of you might have reflected on this question, that I would like to hear from some of you that what would your life be like if ISKCON was not there in this world? So you can raise your hand and speak. Gopala Prabhu?
Yeah, we have couple of
Yes, you can
I'm
unmute whoever is raising the hand.
I'm unmuting them.
Yes.
So Shweta, can you please go ahead?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So I have heard of ISKCON, but I'm regularly following it only from this lockdown. So it was really good, and I got inspired a lot. If this was not there, I guess I don't know how many births I would have taken. Now also I don't know how many more is there. But it's very nice spending time in these things, and it's very good. And time is also passing by with some worthwhile activities. If it's not there, it would just be the hell. Why did Prabhupada went to America and he struggled alone, and why did he spread it? Everything makes sense when we come here and hear something about it.
Wow, thank you. Okay.
Next is Rakshita.
Hey Krishna Prabhuji, am I audible?
Yes.
Prabhuji, when I started, I think it has been 1 year only, but I just love the way that I came in Krishna consciousness. My life would had gone waste if I did not heard something about Krishna. I just for puja I did Krishna's aarti. I have to say that ISKCON had a very good means it takes so much sessions for us and do some things for us that can be the morals in our life. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Wonderful.
you, Rakshita. Next is Kaniksha.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
When I joined ISKCON, I used to laugh because some Sankirtan devotees used to do Sankirtan. So I used to laugh. But now I want to do Sankirtan. That is the magic of Prabhupada.
Wonderful.
And when I joined ISKCON, I'm from a non-devotee family. But my parents are used to shocked when I used to chant the Bhagavad Gita. So after when I read Bhagavad Gita, it was like how this can be. So many devotees joined like you, and they suggested this to do this, to not do this. So they were very humble. I feel very good after joining ISKCON. And
Wonderful.
I wanted to be initiated soon.
Oh, all the very best for that.
I read Bhagavatam too.
Okay, great.
Jai, thank you, Kanishka.
Thank
Next,
you,
Divya
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, we would win deprived of Srimad Bhagavatam, delicious prasadam, and this Diti worship, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the entire ISKCON and about Krishna. We would have been deprived of all that.
Thank you, Divya Krishna Prabhu. He's a good friend of mine. He keeps visiting GAV. Okay.
Jai. Next is Krishwi.
First of all, I like the yummy prasadam, and I sing whole month Damodar Ashtakam, and I am very happy.
Oh, great. Prabhupada said, happy devotee is the best preacher. So you are the best preacher. Remain happy in Krishna consciousness. Okay, I have another question for all of you. In your opinion, what makes Srila Prabhupada a true hero? Someone would like to comment? In your eyes, what makes Srila Prabhupada a true hero? Who would like to say?
So I want to give a chance to others as well. So Haridev, do you want to try?
Okay, Prabhuji. So, Prabhupada went to America on Jaladuta, the ship, and he also quoted that if the Atlantic showed its usual face, he would have already passed away. But Krishna was taking charge of the ship, and he also dealt with all the hippies and drug addicts at the Bovary, and he had established so many temples in the world when he was very old.
Wow, yes, he did the impossible. Prabhupada would say impossible is the word in the fool's dictionary. And his life is a demonstration of that. Nothing is impossible. At the age of 70, with ill health, no resources, he crossed over the oceans and gave the culture of Krishna consciousness to the whole world. So it's impossible. Apparently, it's impossible, but he did the impossible. Wonderful. Thank you. Few more tries, one or two more opinions, and then we'll start the talk.
Pradyumna?
Prabhuji, when he was 70 years old, he went in Jaladuta and he had 2 heart attacks. Still, Krishna saved him, and he was preaching at that age also.
Wow, amazing. Thank you.
Krishna Priya?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I think Prabhupada was hero because he made the hippies happy.
Wonderful. Thank you. Two more. Last two.
Vraj Priya?
Yes, Prabhuji. From I think that Prabhupada's Kirtan and Prabhupada's faith on God makes him a best hero.
Wow. Yes, that's what makes a hero actually. His unflinching faith in the order of his Guru Maharaj and unflinching faith in holy names. Wonderful. That makes him a hero. Okay.
Krishna Kaimal?
That he praised in communist and difficult countries makes him a true hero.
Okay. He took a lot of risk to preach in communist countries. Yes. Thank you. Okay, one more.
Prabhuji, my name is Pradyumna, and I also think that Prabhupada is really hero because he had done so many things to make us educated. If Prabhupada would not be there, then we would be uneducated about Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, true education is the education of Krishna consciousness. We would have remained uneducated without Prabhupada. Wonderful. Thank you, Pradyumna Prabhu. Okay, so I feel so enlightened hearing from all of you, and I'm so inspired. To the best of my capacity, I would like to. So what we are planning is in today's session we'll go till Srila Prabhupada meets his spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. So we'll try to briefly discuss his appearance, childhood activities, school, college activities, his getting associated with nationalist movement, and then finally meeting his spiritual master, and then resolving to dedicate himself to the mission of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. So starting with, we know that Srila Prabhupada appeared in Calcutta on 1st September 1896. So it was Nandotsav Day. And so Nandotsav Day is the day after Janmashtami, the day on which Nanda Maharaj gave a party. He invited everyone in honor of Krishna being born to him, and he organized a party. He observed a festival in honor of Krishna's birth. And so it's very symbolic also that Krishna is sending one of his most intimate associates on the day just after his appearance, to propagate his mission throughout the world. And another thing is, Srila Prabhupada appeared in the city of Calcutta. Calcutta, as we know right now, is just a metropolitan city. But as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we know that it's a very sacred dham. It's a very sacred holy place, because this is the place. There is a place called Kardaha, which is Lord Nityananda Prabhu's preaching headquarters, which is a part of Calcutta only. And later, Janava Devi also preached from Kardaha, which is again the part of Calcutta. Another place which is the part of Calcutta is Panihati, a place where Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, our Prayojan Acharya, he was given special mercy of Lord Chaitanya through the agency of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Also, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's education, most of his education and his preaching activities were in Calcutta. He also disappeared from there to Goloka, and he built a home called Bhakti Bhavan there. And while digging the foundation of that home, he found a Kurma deity, which he gave to his son, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, for him to worship. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also, most of his education and preaching work happened in Calcutta. So Calcutta is a very, very sacred, holy place for Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So this is a place where Srila Prabhupada chose to appear to propagate the mission of Lord Krishna. So actually, as it's mentioned that we are in the age of Kali. It's called Kali Yuga. It's an age of quarrel and hypocrisy. So it's mentioned that this age is an ocean of faults. So there is a verse that comes, Kaler dosh nidhe rajan asti ek mahan guna kirtanadev krishnasya mukta sangha param praje. So basically this age is an ocean of faults. Still many, many great demigods and sages, they are so please hear attentively, because at the end of the session we'll have a small quiz also, and we can have a small discussion also. So if you are attentive, then we can have a very lively discussion in the last 15 minutes of the discussion. So this age is called an ocean of faults, but still very, very great personalities are worshipping this age for one reason, because this age has one benediction, that just by chanting the holy names of the Lord, one can achieve the highest perfection of human life. And Lord Chaitanya appeared, Krishna appeared as Lord Chaitanya to give this gift, this matchless gift, as Srila Prabhupada would say, to give to this world. And he made a prediction that Prithvi te ache yat nagaradi gram sarvatra pachar hoibe marana. So he predicted that this matchless gift would be distributed all over the world in every town and village. So His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj would say that when Lord Chaitanya predicted, Columbus had recently discovered America. People were not aware of continents of Australia and Africa by that time. I believe many participants are there from Melbourne, Australia also. So when Lord Chaitanya had made this prediction, people were not aware that Australia, there is some place called Australia also existing. So it seemed like a poetic exaggeration to some. But in the recent history, we have seen that how one great personality has made it, turned it into reality in a very amazing and inconceivable way. And that's our Srila Prabhupada, whose glories we are discussing today. So Srila Prabhupada appeared in Calcutta on Nandotsav Day. His parents, Gaur Mohan De and Rajni Devi, they named him Abhay Charan. So Abhay Charan means one who is fearless, having taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. So it's in the tradition of Bengal, they call an astrologer when the child is born, and they create a horoscope for the child. So when the astrologer made the horoscope, so to everyone's pleasant surprise, he declared that when this child reaches the age of 70, he would cross the ocean and become a great exponent of religion and open 108 temples. So everyone hearing this was very jubilant, So right from the beginning, it was known that a very extraordinary personality has appeared. So basically, it's when we are studying a personality, it's important that we study the context in which the person is appearing and is living. So the context was that Prabhupada appeared in a India which was dominated by Victorian imperialism. That means India was a part of British colonial rule. It was run by Britain. And Calcutta was the capital of India at that time, before Delhi. And because it was the seat of Viceroy. So the Britishers lived mostly in central Calcutta, and the Indians lived more in North Calcutta. And so Abhay's home was in North Calcutta, Northern Calcutta. And the address was 151 Harrison Road. And his father was a cloth merchant of moderate income. And the whole family of Deys and Maliks, their life was centered around a temple of Radha Govinda, which was nearby. And so he grew up in a very, very Krishna conscious environment. So at the age of 1.5 years, when Srila Prabhupada, that is Abhay Charan, as he was known at that time. So Abhay Charan was, he fell ill with typhoid. And the family physician, Dr. Bose, prescribed chicken broth. So he said he will have to prepare chicken broth, then only, and feed him, then only he will survive. So his father, Gauramonde, said that, oh, we are a family of Vaishnavas, we can't prepare chicken broth at our home. So Dr. Bose, being a family physician and a well-wisher, so he said, no, don't worry, I will prepare it at my home and bring it, and then we'll feed the child. So Gauramonde, thinking that if this is the only recourse, I don't want to risk losing my son. So he agreed. And when Dr. Bose actually brought the chicken broth and tried to feed a little Abhay of 1.5 years, he immediately vomited it out. And without having to accept that chicken broth, he recovered. So we could see that actually he is not an ordinary person. So he would not allow any cruelty to be a part of his life, because meat eating is a part of cruelty, because it symbolizes lack of mercy. So it would not go down the throat of Prabhupada. So he immediately vomited. So it's also mentioned that at the age of 2, he would go to his granny's house. So it's mentioned that on the first floor, there was a rooftop garden, terrace garden. So he would love to sit amongst plants and water the plants. So it can be seen that right from his very childhood, he would love to be with the nature. Then when Abhay was just 4 years old, a vehement plague hit Calcutta. Dozens of people, like we can very much relate to it. Like right now, COVID pandemic is going on. So another pandemic had come at that time in Calcutta, and there was no way to check the plague. So then an old Babaji organized Hare Krishna Sankirtan all over Calcutta. And regardless of religion, Hindu, Muslim, Christians, Parsis, all joined. And large party of chanters traveled from street to street, door to door, chanting the names Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And the group arrived at Gauramohan's house at 151 Harrison Road. And Gauramohan eagerly received them. Although Abhay was a little child, his head reaching only up to the knees of the chanters, he also chanted and danced. And shortly after this, the plague subsided. So this is the power of Harinam Sankirtan that Prabhupada could see as a child also. Then a brief introduction about his father, because he was born in a very dedicated family of Vaishnavas. His father, so basically in the dedication to the Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada expresses his gratitude to his father. So he says, to my father, a pure devotee of Krishna who raised me as a conscious child, as a Krishna conscious child from the beginning of my life. In my boyhood ages, he instructed me how to play the mridanga. He gave me Radha Krishna Vigrahas to worship, and he gave me Jagannath Rath to duly observe the festival as my childhood play. He was so kind to me, and I imbibed from him the ideas later on solidified by my spiritual master, the Eternal Father. So Srila Prabhupada is expressing his gratitude that because my father raised me in an environment which was very Krishna conscious, I could become a great devotee of the Lord. So Gaur Mohan Dev was a pure Vaishnava, and he raised his son to be Krishna conscious. Since his own parents had also been Vaishnavas, Gaur Mohan had never touched meat, fish, eggs, tea, or coffee. So he was a cloth merchant. So what he would do at night, while locking his cloth shop, before locking his cloth shop, he would set a bowl of rice in the middle of floor to satisfy the rats, so that they would not chew on the cloth in their hunger. And then he would return home. And after returning home, he would read from Chaitanya Charitamrita and Srimad Bhagavatam and chant on his japa beads and worship the deity of Lord Krishna. He was so gentle and affectionate, and he would never punish Abhay. He was so lenient. Even when obliged to correct him, Gaur Mohan would first apologize. He would say, "Oh, Abhay, you are my son, so now I must correct you. It's my duty." Even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's father would chastise him, so don't mind. So he would first apologize, and then he would correct him. So Gaur Mohan Dev had Vaishnav goals for his son. He wanted Abhay to become a servant of Radharani. He wanted him to become a preacher of Bhagavatam. He wanted him to learn the devotional art of playing mridanga. And he would regularly receive sadhus at his home. And he was so he would feed them very nicely. Generally sadhus eat a lot. And so he would feed them to their satisfaction. And then when they are satisfied, and then he would say, he would request them that please bless my son so that Srimati Radharani may be pleased with him and grant him her blessings. So like generally these days parents are more interested in making their children very educated people. So Gaur Mohan Dev only wanted him to become a servant of Srimati Radharani. That was his pure aspiration for his son. And his father would say one thing. He would say that Krishna has 10 hands and you only have 2. When Krishna wants to take something away from you, you only have 2 to hold it. And he has 10 to take it. And when Krishna wants to give you, it's with such abundance that he has 10 hands to give it. And you only have 2 to receive. So Srila Prabhupada explained that the lesson from his father was something that he witnessed throughout his entire lifetime. So it's another lesson he would give, to always be dependent on Krishna's mercy, and not too much dependent on our efforts. Should just be to please Krishna. So, and we should depend on Krishna's mercy. That was his demeanor. And so Gaur Mohan had his dream of a son who would grow up singing bhajans, playing mridanga, and speaking of Srimad Bhagavatam. And when Abhay, so he arranged for him to learn mridanga. So when Abhay sat to play the mridanga, even with his left and right arm extended as far as he could, his small hands would barely reach the drum heads at the opposite ends of the drum. And there was a healthy relationship at home amongst between father and mother. So that was a good example for him. And about his mother, so mother was a part of the parenthood who wanted to discipline little Abhay. So we see that parents have different natures, but the common characteristic is they are our unconditional well-wishers. But they express their love, that unconditional love, in different ways. So Abhay's mother would think that, oh, too much leniency may just spoil our child. So she was a part of the parenthood who would like to discipline little Abhay. And she also came from a very long established Gaudiya Vaishnava family. So she was a chaste and religious minded, a model housewife, and dedicated to caring for her husband and children. and she was always trying to protect Abhay through various kinds of simple and touching attempts to ensure by prayers, by vows, and even by rituals that he continued to live. So basically, so she would do a variety of things. So she would, whenever he was to go out to play, his mother, after dressing him, would put a drop of saliva on her finger and touch to his forehead for his protection. And so she once offered blood from her body to one of the demigods with the supplication that Abhay be protected on all sides. At Abhay's birth, she made a vow to eat with her left hand. And until the day her son would notice and ask her why she was eating with the wrong hand, she would keep doing that. So one day when little Abhay actually asked, she immediately stopped. So it had been just another prescription for his survival. So she would take different kinds of vows, and she would make different kinds of offerings and prayers to all variety of demigods and Supreme Personality of Godhead for Abhay's protection against disease, danger, and death. So she was always trying to protect him because she loved him with all her heart. And he always saw the connection of his mother's love with her taking shelter of Krishna. So when raising a child, the children may or may not with their intellect understand what's going on around them, but they feel the experience behind it. And the family of Srila Prabhupada was brought up and was just infused with devotion to Krishna, because love transcends intellect. So even if we are not able to understand what our parents are trying to do, whatever they do to us is an expression of love. So we should always have that confidence that I may not understand why my parents are doing something, what they are doing to me, but and later I may understand and be grateful for that. But I should give that benefit of doubt to my parents that whatever they do to me, it's an expression of their unconditional love. So in this way, Abhay grew up in a family of very, very loving parents, and his mother would take him sometimes to Ganges to give him bath. So Srila Prabhupada would say, my mother Yashoda would chant mantras in the morning to protect Krishna from all dangers throughout the day. When Krishna killed some demon, she thought it was due to her chanting. My mother would do a similar thing with me. So it's mother's love towards her son. And in those days, the tradition was that in the village in the evening, they would come together and hear kathas from Mahabharata, Ramayana, and various other literatures. So it was for this purpose that Abhay's family would sometimes go in the evening to his maternal uncle's house, and which was about 10 miles away, where they would assemble and hear about Lord's transcendental pastimes. And they would return home discussing and remembering them, and then go to bed dreaming about them. So see the kind of inputs we take in, accordingly our dreams, our consciousness is. These days people are having a lot of fearful dreams and all that because they are too much on smartphones and YouTube, taking in a lot of rubbish. That is the result of that. So if we hear in the association of devotees under the guidance of our parents and seniors, so our consciousness accordingly will blossom, and we'll have very good consciousness and very good dreams, and everything will fall in place. And sometimes Abhay would play with his younger sister Bhavtarini, who would be his assistant. And so in their play, whenever they would encounter obstacles, they would pray to God for help. So if they are trying to fly a kite, if they are not able to, so they would, before putting the endeavor, they would say, "Oh Krishna, please help us fly this kite." And so they were always, so he grew up in a family where dependence on Krishna was the hallmark of their life. And then Abhay was enamored by the Rath Yatra festivals. which on an annual, every year it happens in Jagannath Puri, but in Calcutta it would happen all over Bengal also. So he would see Rath Yatras in Calcutta, and he would be very enamored by the festival of Lord Jagannath's Rath Yatra. And he wanted to have a festival of his own. So he requested his father that I want to have a cart and I want to celebrate a Rath Yatra festival of my own. So his father tried, but when they went to the market, it was very, very costly. The chariot was very costly, so he could not afford it. So while returning, Abhay was very insistent that he wants to have a cart. And so one old lady overheard. So she asked, "Are what are you crying for? What do you want?" So then Abhay's father explained that he wants to conduct a Rath Yatra festival of his own. For that, he needs a cart. We could not afford it. And then the old lady said, "Oh, I have an old cart. You can get it repaired." So Gormon, they immediately agreed and very gratefully accepted that cart. And they repaired it, rectified it, and brought it to a similar one, which is they made it similar to the ones that are there in Jagannath Puri. And then Abhay created a 8-day festival, and he was, so this is happening when he's just 6 years old. So he conducted the festival, as you can see on the slide also. He's conducting a festival with a lot of pomp and joy. He's so even at that age, he was naturally a leader. He could enthuse everyone else to participate. So all the mothers agreed to cook bhoga for the Lord. Some people gave donations. Other agreed to play mridangas, kartals, sing kirtans. So like that, he conducted a 8-day festivals at the age of 6, and every year from then on, he would enthuse everyone to participate in that festival. So he would always be checking railway timetables and fares to go to Vrindavan and Jagannath Puri. So he would be thinking, oh, when I would be grown up enough, when I can go to Jagannath Puri, how much is there in my piggy bank? How much more I need to travel to Vrindavan, to travel to Jagannath Puri, and what time do the trains leave? So he would always be eagerly looking towards the train timetables and fares. And because he would see his father worshipping the deities of Radha Krishna at home, because whatever children see at their home, they like to emulate. So at 6, he asked his father that he wants to have a set of Radha Krishna deities of his own. So his father gifted him a deity of Shri Radha Govinda Dev. And from then on, whatever Abhay would eat, he would first offer it to Radha and Krishna. And imitating his father and priests of Radha Govinda, he would offer his deities a ghee lamb and put them to rest at night. And so basically, this is the impact of right culture at home. And so like people have these days, people have their heroes, athletes or Bollywood or Hollywood stars as their heroes. But for Abhay, his father was his hero, worshipping the deity. And the pujari of Radha Govinda temple was his hero. So, and from this Rath Yatra festival and worshipping of deities, we can see that how Prabhupada would do this for the benefit of the whole world, all through the whole world. Now we can see that in all the major cities of the world, by Prabhupada's mercy, we are having Rath Yatra festivals every year from time to time. And in 1904, when little Abhay was 8 years old, he joined Motilal Seal School, and so he liked to ride on his bicycle for long distances in Calcutta. And he was also a part of the soccer club. He was very, very multi-talented. He became the part of Sanskrit Society. He became the part of English Society. He became the part of soccer club. And he also took part in theatrics. And just one second. Okay. But suddenly at the age of 46, his mother suddenly died. So when Abhay was just 16 years old, his mother died, passed away, and her passing away was an abrupt lowering of the curtain, ending the scenes of his tender childhood. His mother's affectionate care, her prayers and mantras for his protection, her feeding and grooming him, her dutifully scolding him, her passing affected him very deeply. But then his father gave him solace. So he instructed Abhay that there was nothing for which to limit, because soul is eternal and everything happens by the will of Krishna. And we should have faith and we should depend on Krishna. So although Abhay was jolted by the very sad loss of his mother, he was pacified by his father's words. So when Abhay grew up to join the college, he entered Scottish Churches College. Two of the prominent colleges in Calcutta at that time was Presidency College and Scottish Churches College. So he joined Scottish Churches College. It was a very proper and respectable institution. And since it was in North Calcutta, it was not very far from his home. So God Mohan Dev was very happy that he doesn't have to stay in the hostel. While staying at home, he can travel to the college. So at college also, he became a part of English society and he would recite the famous poets, Keats, Shelley, to his classmates. As a member of Sanskrit society, he recited the Gita, and some of his fellow students especially noted how eloquently he recited the 11th chapter, describing the universal form of Krishna. He also played soccer and took part in theatrics. So one incident related to his being a part of the theater club there. So there was a very famous director there in the college. His name was Amritlal Bose. So he would say that since Chaitanya Leela was available in public theater for half a rupee, what is the need of an amateur production? He said we should prepare the drama so nicely on the life of Lord Chaitanya that people who are watching our drama should be moved so much that they take a resolve, they take a vow that they will never sin again. It should be so thoroughly prepared. And then he prepared them for 1 full year for the drama where Srila Prabhupada played the part of Advaita Acharya. So when the drama ended in the final performance, first Abhay was shocked that he didn't hear any claps. But then when he observed carefully, everyone in the audience was crying. So actually it had a very profound impact on the hearts of people who were watching. So preparation makes a lot of difference, it shows. So when we make a lot of preparation before we make our theatrical presentations or anything we do, we put in a lot of effort, and then it has a very profound impact on whomsoever is the audience. And so then, because it was a British-run college, some of the teachers were criticizing the Vedic teachings of karma and transmigration of soul. So one professor would say, in the court of law, one cannot be prosecuted for a crime unless there is a witness. So how can you prosecute a criminal if there is no witness? And if I am doing some deed or misdeed, who is the witness? So although Abhay knew, being raised in a Vaishnava family, that there is a witness in the form of Paramatma sitting in the heart. But as a part of etiquette, he didn't argue with his teacher. But he felt hurt that they are opposing the truth given in the Vedic scriptures so authoritatively. So he was very disturbed by such events. And so because college life was very demanding, he had to abandon worshipping the Krishna deity he had received from his father years before. So he had retired the deities to a closed box. And one night after first year of college, Abhay had an unusual dream. The deity of Krishna, his father gave, appeared to him and to Abhay, complaining, "Why have you put me away in this box? You should take me out and worship me again." So Abhay felt sorry, and then that he had neglected his deity. And then he resumed his worship of Radha and Krishna, despite his busy schedule at college. So there is another lesson coming in here, then when the times are good and we are utilizing that time on very healthy Krishna conscious activities and we develop a relation with Krishna, so when the times are, when we come into when we grow up and we don't have much time to give to Krishna conscious activities, Krishna will give us some reason to get connected back to him. So like one of our preachers, Shikshashtakam Prabhu in Nasik, so he was in Air Force earlier. So his commanding officer would say that the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. This means when the times are good, we should put our earnest efforts to maximize our Krishna conscious activities. And when the times come when we are not able to practice any Krishna conscious activities, Krishna will make arrangements and help us. So in the class 1 year ahead of Abhay was a very spirit nationalist we have heard about, Subhash Chandra Bose. So Subhash Chandra Bose was in the same college as Srila Prabhupada or Abhay Charan. And so actually Abhay Charan also was seeing a lot of practices and a lot of exploitation happening from the British side in India. Like he was seeing in his college that they are rejecting the laws of karma, the theory of law of karma and transmigration of soul. So he was very disturbed. Also, there were many exploitative practices of the British Indians. Like for instance, so at that time, India used to produce its own handmade cloth. So there would be weavers who would weave the cloth by their hand. So there would be cotton growers, and they would sell the cotton to the weavers. And weavers with their own hands, they would weave the cloth. There were no machines. And but what Britishers did to kill this industry in India, they chopped off the thumbs of the weavers. It was so cruel to just create good economy in Britain. So they chopped off the hands, the thumbs, I beg your pardon, the thumbs of all the weavers in India, so that they can't weave the cloth anymore. And what they would do, they would buy cotton at very low prices. They would very minimal prices to the growers, buy cotton and send it to Lancashire mills in England and produce in their mills, in the machines there, and bring back that cotton cloth and sell it at a very high price in India. So that's how they were killing the industry in India, which great leaders of nationalistic cause like Mahatma Gandhi, they were opposing. So when Abhay would see such exploitative tendencies and such taking place, he was inspired to associate with nationalistic cause. That's how he became part of the Indian nationalist movement. And but when you become the part of that independence movement, you have to make a lot of sacrifices and you have to take a lot of risks. So Abhay, so another reason why he was very attracted to the nationalistic cause was there was a deep sense of morality, a willingness to give your life to a higher cause. And Srila Prabhupada really connected with that. And one thing that Srila Prabhupada always appreciated was that Mahatma Gandhi, he would always carry a Bhagavad Gita. So although Srila Prabhupada didn't agree with many of his interpretations and speculations, still the fact that he carried Gita with him was a great example for the nation that a leader will believe in Gita. So he was very impressed by that and he became a Gandhian. And in second year of, so in Vedic tradition, the marriages would happen very early. So when Abhay Charan was in his second year of college, his father arranged for him to get married. So in the Vedic system, there was no courtship. So the couple was not allowed to live together during first years of marriage. The young girl would begin serving her husband by cooking for him at her parents' home and coming before him to serve his meal or by taking part in some other formal exchange. Then as the boy and girl grew to physical maturity, they would become so lovable to one another by serving each other. And then they would start living together. So in second year, he got married to one lady by name Radharani Datta. His father arranged for that. And so although Abhay was just a third year college student with no income, but there was no problem because he would have no immediate financial responsibilities because they don't have to stay together immediately. So, and then as a Gandhian in the fourth year of his college, he became reluctant to accept the degree from a British run college. So as we mentioned earlier also, as a Gandhian, you had to make a lot of sacrifices. So Prabhupada also, as Abhay Charan, as he was known at that time, he was also willing to sacrifice his own degree, which means he's sacrificing his own career, his complete career. If you don't have a degree, that means you have not studied. It would be seen like that. But he was willing to sacrifice. So he was reluctant to accept the degree. So when the day come for him to accept the degree, he rejected that. And he would wear khadi cloth. So khadi at that time was not just a fashion. It was a statement. When you would wear khadi, you are saying, British, just get out of here. We don't want you in India. Just get out. So that meant taking a lot of risk again. But Abhay Charan was ready to make the sacrifice and take risks. And then, so as he passed out, because he didn't have a degree, but his father, being a very affectionate father, proactively he had arranged for his job. So one of his friends was Dr. Karthik Chandra Bose. He had been the family doctor who tried to feed chicken broth to little Abhay. So he was a distinguished surgeon, a medical scholar, and a chemical industrialist. And he had his own establishment, Bose's Laboratory in Calcutta. And so he was manufacturing drugs, soaps, and other products for pharmaceutical industry. So he was well known throughout India. And as the first Indian to manufacture pharmaceutical preparations, because the pharmaceutical industry was monopolized by European firms. So he agreed to accept Abhay as a departmental manager at his laboratory. And so one day, so now the event that is very important for all of us as ISKCON followers and as followers of Srila Prabhupada. One day, one of Abhay's friend, Narendranath Malik, he was insistent that he wanted Abhay to see a sadhu from Mayapur. So Naren and some of his friends had already met the sadhu at his nearby ashram on Ultadanga Junction Road, and now they wanted Abhay's opinion. So now Abhay amongst his friends was a natural leader. So they wanted that if Abhay approves of this sadhu, then everyone else will also approve of him. So it was very important for Naren that that he takes Abhay with him to meet the sadhu. So, but Abhay, while growing up, had seen a lot of fake sadhus. His father, as we discussed earlier, he would invite 3-4 sadhus every day, would satisfy them, and then request them to please bless his son to become a servant of Srimati Radharani. But when little Abhay, while growing up, had studied the character of those sadhus, that had not been very impressive. So they were like only beggars, but they were wearing a saffron cloth just to carry out their profession of a beggar. So he didn't have very high regard for, he had never met a genuine sadhu. So this time, so Abhay said that he doesn't want to go and meet any sadhu. He said, I know all how these sadhus are. So, but then Naren argued that this particular sadhu was a very learned scholar. He's not like other sadhus. And Abhay should at least meet him and judge for himself. So finally, Abhay relented and he agreed. So they came to this address, which is 1 Ultadanga Junction, and plate mentions that it's Bhakti Vinod Asana, the place of the Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And when they inquired at the door, a young man recognized Mr. Malik, and Naren had previously given a donation and immediately escorted them to the roof of second floor and into the presence of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was sitting and enjoying the early evening atmosphere with a few disciples and guests. So Abhay and Naren, having been raised in Vaishnava families, immediately offered prostrated obeisances at the sight of a revered sannyasi. So as soon as, because both of them had been raised in Vaishnava families, as soon as they saw one sannyasi sitting, so they immediately bowed down, prostrated themselves, and offered their obeisances. And as these two young men were rising and preparing to sit, before any preliminary formalities of conversation, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur immediately said to them, "Oh, you are educated young men. Why don't you preach the message of Lord Chaitanya throughout the whole world in English language?" And Abhay could hardly believe what he had just heard. They hadn't even exchanged views. Yet the sadhu was telling them what they should do. Sitting face to face with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Abhay was gathering his wits and trying to gain a comprehensible impression. But this person had already told them to become preachers and go all over the world. But now Abhay is of the belief at that time that we should first get independence. So he very submissively put forward, in a very respectful way, he put forward his doubt in front of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he said that first we should get independence. Otherwise, being subjugated by British, who would hear the message of Lord Chaitanya? We are a dependent country. First, India must become independent. How can we spread the Indian culture if we ourselves are under British rule? So, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur replied in a very quiet and deep voice that Krishna consciousness did not have to wait for a change in Indian politics. And it was not dependent on who ruled. Krishna consciousness was so important, so exclusively important, that it could not wait. Whether one power or another ruled was a temporary situation. But the eternal reality is Krishna consciousness. And the real self is the spirit soul. No man-made political system, therefore, could actually help humanity. This was the verdict of all the Vedic scriptures and the line of spiritual masters. Although everyone is an eternal servant of God, when one takes himself to be a temporary body and regards the nation of his birth as worshipable, he comes under illusion. So basically, we are all spirit souls, servants of the Lord. But if we are thinking because things in this world always keep changing, but this is always the reality that we are spirit souls, servants of Krishna, and so we should immediately start this work of reawakening love for the Lord. This cannot wait for anything. And Srila Prabhupada, although defeated, was so impressed and so happy to be defeated by his own spiritual master. And he started thinking, he accepted Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in his heart as a spiritual master at that moment. And he was thinking that I have met such a wonderful saintly person, and that he wanted to completely dedicate himself to the instruction of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada of spreading the message of Lord Chaitanya throughout the world in English language. But then there was a problem. He started thinking that by that time he had already had one child. He was married and he had one child. So he was thinking, my God, if I was not married, I could have completely dedicated myself right from this day to spreading the message of Lord Chaitanya as ordered by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. But now I have family responsibilities. I have to present I have to be a good role model in the society. I can't just leave my family responsibilities and become a sadhu. So then he started thinking that what he can do. So then he thought that as a householder, I will make money for my family and also support the mission of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur by making a lot of money. And he started pursuing that path from then on, making the instruction of his spiritual master as his life and soul. And we'll see in tomorrow's session that how, after having received the initial instruction from his spiritual master, how he flowed like Ganges. If you have heard of Kunti Maharani's prayers, she prayed, Tvaimyananya Vishaya Matir Madhupate Sakrit Ratim Udvatat Adha Gange Vogam Udanvati. So Kunti Maharani prays that my sweet Lord, as the river Ganges forever flows to the sea without any hindrance, let my being, let my mind be constantly drawn to your lotus feet without getting diverted to anything else. So we'll see in tomorrow's session that after having received this instruction, initial instruction from Srila Thakur, how Srila Prabhupada would flow like Mother Ganges when faced with insurmountable obstacles. He would just pass under it, over it, besides it, like Mother Ganges when faced with an insurmountable mountain would pass under it, over it, besides it, and keep moving towards the sea. So Srila Prabhupada, with one pointed focus of fulfilling the instruction of a spiritual master, we'll see in tomorrow's session that with unlimited determination, setting such a wonderful example for all of us to follow in his footsteps, he would make unlimited sacrifices to give us this matchless gift of Krishna consciousness. So we can open up the session for discussion now for another 10 minutes. Gopala Prabhu, if you're there.
Sure, Prabhu. So, children, if you have any comments, suggestion, questions, please raise your hand and I'll just unmute you.
Anyone would like to comment on what we just heard? Whatever you understood? And if you would like to add something to the content that we heard? Yes, Kanishka.
How was the session? Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
How did he how did he have courage to leave his family like this?
Anishka, we can't hear you. Could you repeat your question again?
Yes, Mataji. How did have that much courage to leave his family?
Sorry,
for,
Kanisha, your voice is not clear. Can you put that on the chat, please? That would be helpful. We can read that out.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments from anyone?
Any extra information you would like to add till he met his spiritual master from his life? Any realizations from your own life, having the experience of being raised in a very Krishna conscious environment?
Do you want to share any other pastime of Srila Prabhupada which you like? Anything?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. The session was amazing. Like, actually, we joined a little bit late because we just arrived from the school. But whatever I heard, it was amazing. And I just wanted to share one pastime of Srila Prabhupada. Like, when he was young, like he was small kid, like 5 years old. So he had been to a fun fair with his father, and there he saw a gun on a stall. Like, there were many games, and there he saw a gun, and he just wanted it. Like, he felt it so amazing, so beautiful, or whatever he felt at that time.
So he loved it so much that he started arguing with his father. He started requesting his father basically that father, please get me the gun, please, please, please. See, he tried many ways to convince his father. He tried to butter him, and he tried to request him. He tried to like argue with him. But Gaur Mohan De was like, Gaur Mohan De, he why do you need a gun? You have so many games. So first he didn't listen to Srila Prabhupada. But then Srila Prabhupada came to he became so stubborn that he started rolling down on the road. There, so everyone started watching him. So Gaur Mohan they told, "What are you doing?" So he started shouting, "Till you don't give me that gun, I'll not get up." So then at last Gaur Mohan they had to bring him a gun, that gun. And when he took that in one hand, so he again wanted one more gun in his second hand. So again he started asking for another gun. So Gaur Mohan they told, "You have one gun, why do you need another gun now?" Again he started rolling down on the ground. Then he told, "Okay, Baba, I'll give you the gun." So like in this pastime we learn the stubbornness about Srila Prabhupada. Like from childhood he was so stubborn, and even after he received the instructions from his Guru Maharaj, then also he was so stubborn, like facing so many issues and so many problems in his life. Still he was so stubborn to finish his what to say like to preach to preach to fulfill the instructions of his Guru Maharaj. So he was so stubborn to fulfill the instructions that he was so dedicated even after facing so many problems. So I request Srila Prabhupada that to provide little bit of stubbornness in each and every devotee so that they can preach to the world. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much for sharing this. This is the quality of perseverance that once you have decided on something that you are so determined to, and this is a very right quality that you have mentioned. Prabhupada has this quality of perseverance. I mean, he would not, we'll see tomorrow also many instances, he would not see what is possible, what is impossible. He would just see what is the right thing to do. So in pursuance of his order, Guru Maharaj's order. And so this quality is called perseverance. Okay, stubbornness is has a negative connotation. So we should persevere for the right things. So that we learn from Srila Prabhupada's life. Thank you very much. Yes. Any other point that you liked in the talk or inspired you, or any lesson you would like to share from the content that is covered today? Any suggestions for improvements tomorrow? Krishna Camel, fascinating. Please, can you please elaborate on this? What fascinated you? Whoa. Krishna Camel. Okay, Arya can speak.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for the wonderful session. It was very inspiring. One thing I found really amazing is how he was ready to give up his degree for this Gandhi movement. It shows like, how do you explain? Like he was ready to give up anything for like the right cause. And even like he got 2 heart attacks in the Jaladuta. Like he was ready to trouble anything, but it's for the right cause. That's a really nice quality.
Thank you, because this is a very valid point actually. So when we stand for the right thing, we have to be ready to pay the price also, because there are prices associated with that. That's why not many are willing to stand for the right things, but he is willing to pay the price and take the risks associated with it. Thank you. Very wonderful point. Thank you very much. Okay. Anay.
Yes, Anay, go ahead.
Yes, okay. So the part that inspired me was like when Srila Prabhupada was 1.5 years old and he got the typhoid disease, am I right? Yeah. And so it showed his perseverance that I do not want to break the four regulative principles. I want to like stick to the rules. And so that's why he vomited it out as soon as he was fed the chicken broth. Yes.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So we should be determined to follow the four regulative principles. And then Krishna comes to address you. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Any other suggestion? Yes,
Yes,
Krishna. Go ahead, Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji. I was saying that I was fascinated by the fact that on the first meeting itself, Prabhupada got his instructions from his Guru Maharaj, and that even without saying anything, he understood that they were educated men and everything about Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, it shows that they had an eternal connection. Previous connection is there. It's not an ordinary meeting. Yes. In fact, that is the birth of ISKCON. So that this meeting sowed the seed, which will finally turn into ISKCON and do so much and would transform all our lives. Thank you. Yes.
Any other questions, comments? All right, I think so. The questions, comments have been subsided. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful program on Swami Srila Prabhupada. Couple of things which I liked it, just given that you are sharing, asking all the children. So I would also like to share a couple of things. One is, in spite of so much of political pressure that time, if you imagine, that time it was so much of political pressure that first and foremost thing was we want to get rid of we want to get the independence, right? That was the so much of pressure right now that time. But Srila Prabhupada concentrated on devotional service. This is what and that is what even Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, that everything can wait, not Krishna consciousness. So that really caught hold of attention of Swami Srila Prabhupada, and he focused more on devotional service and not the independence. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, and we'll look again. Look forward for the tomorrow's session. So request all the children, ensure that you join tomorrow again same time at 1:30 p.m. IST, Indian Standard Time. Thank you. Hare Krishna.